Let's talk about the difference between fault and responsibility. Most of the time when a problem happens, people will talk about whose fault it is. And usually when they're talking about whose fault it is, they're talking about who caused the problem. Meaning, were it not for this person's actions, this problem would not have happened in the first place. And usually people confuse fault with responsibility. So somebody will say, well, it was his fault, therefore he should be the one to solve the problem. I shouldn't have to solve the problem. I shouldn't have to expend any effort to solve this problem. Now, those of you who have heard me talk about the concept of the word should have heard me say that the word should is really just a substitute for saying I expect. So if I think it's your fault, you should solve the problem, what it really says is I think it's your fault, I expect you to solve the problem. I want to pitch to you a radically alternative way of thinking about this, though, which is the concept, rather than of fault, of responsibility. And the difference between fault and responsibility is that fault asks who caused the problem, whose actions resulted in this problem happening, whereas responsibility asks who is going to have to bear the consequences of the problem not getting solved. So I remember when I was a little kid, I would walk very defiantly out into the street, and I would be maybe in a crosswalk, maybe not. And my dad would say, why are you just walking out into the street so confidently? Why aren't you looking both ways? Why aren't you being more careful? And I would say, well, Dad, you're a lawyer. You told me that it is, the law says that drivers should stop for pedestrians. It's the law. So if I get hit, it's really their fault. And my dad said, well, yeah, they may be breaking the law if they don't stop for you and if they hit you, but that's not going to change the fact that you might be seriously injured, or even worse, you might be, well, I won't say the word because I think the algorithm might filter me out if I say it, but you know what I'm saying. And this is, I think, a good thought experiment, which is to say that if somebody crosses the street and exposes themselves to the hazard of getting hit by a car and just says, well, it'll be their fault if they hit me, they're not recognizing their own responsibility, which is to say that they are going to be the one who has to bear the consequences of the problem, even if it is somebody else's fault. It's almost as though nature, or kind of reality itself, is going to hold us, well, responsible for us not taking action.